welcome to the Holistic Diabetes Solutions Summit. And we're so excited today because one of our wonderful guests, and I've gone through the name a few times to make sure I get it right, Karin?
That is correct, yes.
So it's Karin Wieri, and it is very exciting to have you here. And that is because you are so passionate about helping people in general. But what I really found really great when we've spoken a few times in the last several weeks, is that it's all about helping people who've experienced trauma. And that includes issues with health and diabetes and complications. And I think one of the big things that we don't talk a lot so much about or find much information about is the anxiety and the concern that people with diabetes have. So I'm really excited for you to share with us about that. But for our audience, I want you to know that Karin Wieri is someone who has achieved her master's in marriage and family therapy. She is adept in Reiki. She has graduated and practiced so much of it's going to be new for many people, I think, that it's called the EMDR technique. So I'm going to let her tell you all about that. But the really great thing is Karin's the host of not one, but two wellness radio shows. So welcome.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Shara. I am so honored to be on the show, and I believe cover something that, we hear everybody talk about anxiety. However, we don't usually hear about it. It's not usually addressed as part of as the medical things that they go through. And one of the things that I find is that most medical things are kind of scary because many times they can be, first of all, you don't know what's going on, and then you find out what's going on, and then there are all the tests and the procedures, and it can be invasive and painful, and you're waiting for tests, and it goes all over the place. All of that is extremely anxiety producing. And how our brain works and how it stores those kinds of things is that in that moment, in every single one of those moments, so let's say you get a diagnosis, or let's say that you have a complication, anything, you have an argument, not diabetes related, you have an argument with your loved one, every single one of those incidences gets stored dysfunctionally in our brain with the sights, the sounds, the smells, the physical sensations we have in our body in that moment, the emotions that are, firing off in that moment, and the negative belief we attach to that particular situation. And it's always about me, myself, and I. I'm not safe. It's my fault. I did something wrong. And
all that self-chatter.
Exactly. We're so good at coming up with all kinds of things that we're doing wrong and is bad and what. So all of this gets frozen and then stored dysfunctionally in a part of our brain that doesn't know time. Time is very fluid. And then not only that, it also gets connected with every single other incident that you ever had that you attached the same negative belief to. So that means we build this big giant neural pathway of hot flares, raw nerve endings that every time it gets flared up, which could be any little thing. I've heard cancer patients talk about, walking by a certain area in the hospital and smelling, the chemotherapy or, anything like that. And all of a sudden it all comes back. And this is what happens. And then, the brain then relives every single one of those moments, even if you don't have the actual video reel going on, but it's going on in the brain in there.
Sure.
Yes.
It sounds like a super interconnected, super highway of emotions.
It is. It is. And the brain is wired that way to protect us because our brain is designed to keep us alive, except that we can get caught up in this fight or flight loop and not know how to get out of it because it's not a cognitive thing.
Well, that's what's so exciting. And that's what I'm so pumped about and speaking with you a couple of times in recent weeks, because I know that our audience is going to be excited to hear that there is a way that we can bypass that. Exactly. And that we're able to, at the cellular level, take a look at how to release these things that can be barriers and keeping us stuck. in our emotions. And as we were saying, emotions are very real. I mean, high and low blood sugar levels, which can be very, very assaulting to the body and very threatening, can leave you like what you said, in fight or flight. But those are very anxiety provoking. So I am all excited to hear how we can release this anxiety provoke memories.
Absolutely. And that's the very particular modality that I've been practicing now for, I don't know, more than 10 years. And I am telling you, to this day, every time I work with somebody, I'm just fascinated and awed by what happens. I mean, 10 years of this, more than 10 years. So what happens is this amazing woman, Francine Shapiro, she came up with this protocol and called EMDR, that stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Big,
Okay.
long schmear. And what we do is that we focus in on one specific incident and we figure out what all those parts are that I mentioned before. We figure out, okay, well, what now when you bring up this specific memory, maybe you were sitting there in front of the doctor and you got the diagnosis and it was like, you know, whatever it is that came up then and there usually will pretty much come up right here and now. And this is how we know that we're not done with processing that particular memory.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
It's like,
sure.
ooh, I'm reliving it right here and now. And so we figure out what are the emotions that are coming up now? What are, what's the worst part of that particular incident? Maybe the tone of the voice or whatever. And what is the negative belief that's attached to it? How upsetting is it to you right now on a scale from 0 to 10? Where physically in your body are you feeling this right now? That's a big piece.
Yeah, for
Because
sure, where it shows up. Yeah.
yeah, the body remembers, body stores this information physically. And then we also want to find out, what do we want to replace that negative belief with? That's really important. And when we found all of that, then this is where we start with the bilateral stimulation. And this is the piece that's key in EMDR. Now, that bilateral stimulation could be eye movements from side to side. It could be auditory with headphones, or it could be kinetic with tapping from one side to another. Yeah. And it sounds really weird.
Well, I'm a Roger Callahan tapping original from like 35 years ago, so none of this is foreign to me. But for our listeners, this might be something new.
Yes. It's like, huh? What? Yeah. So what is this all about? So what happens is that, of course, your brain has gone into fight or flight, and your brain is now being flooded with cortisol, stress hormone. And so all the front part of your brain is out the window. We don't need that part when we are in distress. So the bilateral stimulation sends a signal to your central nervous system to calm down.
Right.
And now we have access to all this intelligent part of our brain, which is this is the bypassing part of all the cognitive filters and whatever we all have up otherwise. And it's like we have the trauma here, and then we have the incident here that's covered with the trauma. Yes. And this part is like peeling the trauma off. And now the brain can start to place this memory, this incident, properly in the brain, so that the brain recognizes, oh, this happened then, and I'm here now, I'm okay now. And the other beautiful thing with this modality is that we don't have to process every single incident that ever happened. Thank God, because we would be doing this forever. Nobody has time for that. Right.
Sure.
So the brain, again, is so amazing, because once we process 1, 2, maybe 3, just depends on the person and how complicated it is, then the brain recognizes, all these are the same, and it releases the whole network.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is.
That is so amazing. Okay, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. So, as we release those, as these memories, let's say, are being released, and they start to be released, what you're saying is it is a like effect. So then others release, or do they all release at the same time when you reach a certain point?
Well, that's the thing. Oh, so in between also, what happens is the brain will continue to process. It just slows down a little bit in between sessions. And then we meet again, it speeds up again. So everybody is different. It just depends. Yeah.
Okay.
They might not actually know that it's all being released, but they can feel a difference. What they're feeling is a weight lifted off of them. They feel
Yes.
more, well, sometimes they may be tired because they process and
Yes.
it's, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. But I do have sometimes people who, have more energy. They will physically feel it leaving their body, um, and peace and grounded.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is something many people haven't felt in a long time.
Yes. No, and I can follow that. And that's wonderful because also sometimes um, things are subtle
Oh
and then
yeah.
they're not so subtle, but sometimes you notice when something didn't bother you and you're
Mm,
continuing to do something that you couldn't do before. And that's
yes,
sometimes when it speaks to you.
exactly. Yeah, and this is the funny thing. This is what I love when people they come back after a session, that they will sometimes some people they'll be very aware of things, but many times it's like they realize they've just had an incident
Yes.
where it isn't until after the fact that they realize they didn't do what they normally did.
Right. Right.
And many times people just naturally become more assertive and without having to do all the negotiating with yourself and feel bad and all that garbage, that's out the window. It's done.
Which is such a relief.
Exactly,
The
exactly.
release work is the relief. So that's amazing. So may I ask you a question of how this might work with somebody with diabetes with, let's say, a neuropathy, whether it's numbness or tingling or something that's in their body as a result of higher blood sugars. But again, everything is attached to emotion.
True.
I totally, totally believe that and do a lot of work in that space as well.
Yeah.
So and everything is, I also believe cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so it's all around, okay, so let's say there's this consequence that has a voice in the body and
Yeah.
it's disturbing and it's not nice. So let's just say it's tingling or neuropathy. So people are working with you and then what we do is we access a memory or we access part of something that would contribute to that.
That that sounds like something. I'm trying to make sure that I understand what you're saying. Uh so maybe something like actions that led to the diabetes getting to that point, you mean?
Yes, yeah,
Hmm.
that would be perfect.
There
Yes,
you go. Yes.
yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the EMDR. We're always looking for a very specific thing that we can target
Okay.
because, yes, yeah, we can't be, oh, for the last 10 years, I had this thing going on. That's part of the history taking. So
Okay.
out of those 10 years, let's look in and delve into, uh,
Okay.
yeah, specific. Okay, so maybe it was the first time that you felt that tingling feeling, and because that triggered previous memories of, oh my gosh, being at the doctor's or having this complication, and now I feel something again. So that would be something that we would specifically go in and target.
That's pretty amazing.
Mm.
When you look at life and all kinds of health issues,
Mm-hmm.
and diabetes with its consequences is one thing, but there are so many issues, so many
Exactly.
issues. Wow, it's pretty amazing stuff.
So a specific incident would be one time I was working with a woman, and the specific target we were focusing on was her being at the hospital. She had some back issues, and it got to be a big, long, complicated thing. And now the consequence of us working together and processing through this was apparently she also had a difficult time driving, especially on highways, which I didn't know about. And she came back and told me that she was out driving with her adult daughter, and all of a sudden she just took the quickest way to get home, and her daughter started looking at her weird, and you know she goes, what? And finally her daughter goes, we're on I-4, which is our highway here in Florida, one of our main highways. And
Right.
she goes, yeah. And we're on I-4, mom. And she goes, oh, she hadn't driven on a highway for so long. And now she didn't even realize that she was jumping on there.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Mm. Right.
That's awesome. Because no, it was no longer an issue.
Exactly. And that's not even what we were working on. So this is how things are connected.
I'm really hearing a lot of freedom in what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes.
I'm hearing freedom. I'm hearing like not restriction, but freedom. And how great is that?
I know. And you know what, Dr. Cheryl?
Hope and freedom, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what, Dr. Cheryl, what my new diagnosis that I'm coming up with, because I think this is so much better. Most people are just emotionally constipated.
True. True.
Right, right. So if we just clean all that out, we become free from so much garbage that we carry around. And what a relief.
So now you're going to have to do your product called the Karin, emotional detox.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
So what could be, or what is one tip or tool that you would love to leave with our audience? What's
Okay.
a tip or tool that people can do today to assist them in this way?
Yes. Okay. So here is the thing is that whatever we think is our reality. So we many times are thinking about something that will make us either feel sad or happy or anxious or whatever. So if you find yourself starting to go down the path of something that doesn't feel good, then what I want you to do is to think of something that is a happy memory. Maybe you have a favorite pet, either now or in the past, or a beautiful place you went to, someplace out in nature for many people, the beach or whatever. So if you bring that up right now and make it crystal clear, like that person is here right now, you're out there by the beach, you hear it, you smell it, you feel it, everything.
It's a high
And
D.
yes,
Yes.
exactly. And while you are bringing all this, notice how you're feeling, notice how your mood feels, notice how your body feels. And so once you have that, let me put this down. What I want you to do is to go ahead and cross your hands like this and then start tapping from side to side very slowly and notice how that feels. For
It's
most people,
calming. Isn't it
yes,
calming?
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Very calming.
that's
Because
it.
now you're also focusing on something different too.
Exactly. Yes. And some people know, we know now that, again, like I was saying before, whatever we are thinking is the reality for us.
Yes.
So that favorite pet that's just so silly and loving and soft, gives us the warm fuzzies inside. You just have to think about that. And there it is. That's your reality.
Well, that's a really great exercise because if we just took, what
Yeah.
would that take? A minute?
Not even. It
What
for
would
most
that
people it
take
takes
in your
10
day?
seconds.
Yeah, like what would that take in your day? It's kind of
Yeah.
like a reset, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I actually recommend a lot of people do it multiple times throughout the day, and not, especially in the beginning, not when you're going into a stressful situation. Do it during times that are already calm, because now you're creating yourself a buffer.
Yes, yes, I get it. I hear you. Well, I
Mm,
think that's a great tip for people to do. Less than
yeah,
10 seconds a day, a
exactly.
couple times a day. It's
It's
a
free.
no-brainer.
It's free. It's easy. You give yourself a little hug, you know, getting those good hormones going.
Oh, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's really awesome. Well, if you don't mind my asking, what got you started in this work? Like, what called you into this work?
Hmm. I it just have always been fascinated with human relations and relationships that we have, and growing up I saw how my mother was with her mother, and just the whole intergenerational aspect,
Yeah.
and I thought, you know what, I want to change this and create a new ripple effect. And so, yeah, I became a therapist, but what really turned things around for me 100% was being introduced to EMDR. That truly has been life changing. And I have clients telling me that just yesterday I had somebody, it changed my life. So saved my life is actually what she said. So it's I am so grateful to wonderful Francine Shapiro, the genius who came up with this. Quite a legacy she left behind. She did pass away last year. So, yeah.
Well, bless her for her great work
Thank
and
you. Yes.
the effect, the positive effect that it's having in people's lives. And the experts such as yourselves that make this available in our communities and
Yes.
for enlightening us, because this is going to be new for many people. I'm sure this will be new for many of our listeners today, and that'll be great. So
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question of how can people reach you?
Absolutely. So you can reach me on my phone, which is 386-848-5170, or on my website. You can check things out, what's going on up there, which is www.insightscounselingcenter.com, because here you get more than one insight. You get many.
Well, that's really great, and we're going to make sure to have that written out here. And I think that that's awesome. And thank you so much. You're so delightful. We've had a few really great conversations,
Yes. Yeah.
and I hope to see you next month.
Yes. Well, I'm going to make time for it for sure.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I'll be
Yes.
down. I'll be down in your state.
Yes. Yeah. Get warm again.
Yes, get warm again. That's for sure. Well, thank you so much, Karin.
Thank you, Dr. Cheryl. I am very honored and excited to be here to help you with this amazing event that you're putting on, which thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, and it's really my pleasure. And I can't wait for the great responses, which we're going to share with you and with everyone on our website too. So thank you so much, and until next time, have a healing day.
You as well.